I'm sure this is not the first time you're hearing this, that, any representation of Indians and South Asians in big shows makes everyone here very proud. What has been the feedback from, say, for example, family, friends, people who know you back here? What do they tell you?
My family that I haven't seen here in 14 years, I can just see this sparkle in their eyes. Like you can tell they're so proud. And that's so meaningful for me. And especially reminds me of my parents coming from India to America to start a new life. And for me, it's just been a special moment just to be back presenting a special show for me.
Could you tell me, how did the casting happen?
Casting for me, and I think most of us, was just the normal avenues of casting. The writer, creator, showrunner, he really liked my performance, I think, and I brought a certain levity and humor to it. So he wrote this part that was not originally in it. Based on my audition for a different role. So oftentimes the most important life-changing roles are based on something that you didn't get. Or just a connection that was made by maybe something else you weren't right for.
What did you learn from this particular one, if I may ask?
I've learned many things. It has been exciting for me to portray, and kind of it's lighting a fire in me to keep going and keep challenging myself, because I just want to do everyone proud, but I'm also learning about myself, and I'm finding my own purpose along the way. It kind of excited me, because I feel like as humans, we're on a journey of growth. We should seek that, and that's kind of what I'm learning through Matthew.
When did you start watching it? There's so much to watch. So I wouldn't believe that you were watching just this. When did you start watching it?
A lot of actors don't watch their work at all. And there's plenty of actors on our show who've never seen a single minute of The Chosen, believe it or not. I'm not going to out them and say who it is, but it's not us.
Right. Alok, Paras, welcome to Bollywood Hungama. Good to see both of you here. Firstly, how's it been since you all have come?
It's been amazing. It's been a fast-paced whirlwind, but when you come to India, that's what you expect, right? A very beautiful chaos. So it's been very special for both of us to be here to launch The Chosen.
Nice. Do you guys come often? Or?
So my father is from Bombay, born and raised.
Oh, nice. Okay.
So the Bombay is sort of my hometown when I come here. So I've spent a lot of time here.
Right.
And then I also studied sitar here. On 10th Road at Sangeet Mahabharati with Pandit Nayan Ghosh. So in my early 20s, I was coming here a lot, living here for 3 months, 6 months at a time. So I spent a lot of time here. So I absolutely love this city. There's nothing like it. Everywhere else in the world feels lonely to me, compared to Bombay.
That is true. It is a lovely city.
I have not been back in 14 years to India, but I'd always go to Gujarat because that's where my family is.
That's where your family is. Okay.
So I was always enamored by Mumbai, and just to be here now, and I'm staying here for a few more days, so I'm looking forward to just traveling around, because a lot has changed in 14 years.
A lot has changed, obviously. I'm sure this is not the first time you're hearing this, that, any representation of Indians and South Asians in big shows makes everyone here very proud. What has been the feedback from, say, for example, family, friends, people who know you back here? What do they tell you?
I think it's just all with the eyes. With my family that I haven't seen here in 14 years, I can just see this sparkle in their eyes. Like you can tell they're so proud, and that's so meaningful for me, and especially reminds me of my parents coming from India to America to start a new life. And for me, in a way, it's kind of me giving back, and I'm able to live my dream. So I just feel an immense feeling of pride. And I've always been like an Indian at heart, even though I grew up overseas. But it's just been a special moment just to be back presenting a special show for me.
Right. Could you tell me, how did the casting happen? How does it work?
So the casting for me, and I think most of us, was just the normal avenues of casting, where you have a agent or manager submits you, there's a casting notice, the casting director. So that's what it was for me. I just went in, read with the casting director. I actually read for a different part. I read for the part of Nicodemus, which is a much older part.
Oh, I didn't know that.
You didn't know that?
No.
Yeah. And in fact, so the writer, creator, showrunner, he really liked my performance, I think, and I brought a certain levity and humor to it. So he wrote this part that was not originally in it. Based on my audition for a different role. So oftentimes the most important life-changing roles are based on something that you didn't get. Or just a connection that was made by maybe something else you weren't right for. So
interesting.
Yeah.
Right. Did you cast for something else, or did you cast?
I actually just read for Matthew.
Okay.
And, you did?
Yeah, a lot of my castmates have read for other roles, but I guess the director just had me read for Matthew. But I didn't get the part originally. His wife they had already cast the part. And his wife just felt like in the long run felt like I was the better fit. So about a week into shooting season 1, they made the decision to switch, and
Oh, wow.
I ended up getting the part. And
I didn't know that either.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
amazing.
So it's been a very unique experience, but it's been pretty awesome to kind of have that trust in me and taking it forward.
Right. These are important roles in the sense when you take up these roles, you take it back home. There's no option, but mentally you're taking it back home. One, do you take it back home, and how do you disconnect?
Yeah, especially with the storyline, there's always a lot of emotional heaviness that's happening.
Yeah.
Especially us just filming season 5. I think that I used to be someone that would bring it back home, and I'd have to like gym or just do something fun to get it out. But we're a close cast and family that we've all been through these experiences together.
Right.
So we'll go have a dinner together after, or just go get a drink and just keep it light. And so that actually helps us get out of the material and kind of recharge. But I also find myself wanting to sleep a lot more on my days off. So because we're working a lot, so a lot of times it's just me, my AirPods in, listening to Bollywood music and just chilling out. Yeah.
Right. Do you live with it for some time? Is it
So specifically with this show, my character is more of a lighter character. I'm more the comic relief, and I come in, so it's not so heavy. I would say the elements of the character that I do bring home are all positive things in terms of wanting to be a part of this community. So as my character over the years becomes more integrated into this, this ministry of this band of brothers and sisters, I, as Alok, also just want to have this sense of community with the other actors and the other people who are involved, cast and crew. So that part of it, and then I tend to not be somebody who has even an opportunity to really bring things home so much, because you just get caught. I have children, and you just get right back into your life. So but I think not to invalidate the method actors who are fully live the part, because technique is whatever works, and some people do great work, and if that's what works, that's what works, and it's great. But I tend to want to do the work, go home, punch in, punch out, be in the service industry, not take myself too seriously. So that's sort of my approach.
Right. These are not regular roles, I would say. These are different roles. What do you learn from? What did you learn from this particular one, if I may ask?
Yeah, in a way, I've learned many things, because I playing a character who is neurodivergent, wasn't something that was in my wheelhouse, so I found myself being challenged, but in a positive way. And I found myself wanting to represent a community, and the fact that we have fellow Indians also responding to seeing a lead in that way has been exciting for me to portray, and kind of it's lighting a fire in me to keep going and keep challenging myself, because I just want to do everyone proud, but I'm also learning about myself, and I'm finding my own purpose along the way.
Right.
And so with my character deals with a lot of his own personal journey and finding his own confidence and his own self and his strength, and I've kind of learned from that, and learning how to give in to your anxieties, give in to your fears, because you never know what's on the other side of that, and it'll make you a better person.
Right.
It's okay to feel pain.
Right.
Don't run away from it.
Right. Since you said, this is also, a community will be watching this very closely. Does this play on your mind when you're shooting, when in a room, when you're on the sets? Is it too much to take sometimes?
I'm always just thinking about the storyline and the character's journey and the work. But when the show did kind of go viral during the pandemic in season 2, there was a little more pressure. Realizing the world is watching you. We had India, where I've got so many messages from the beginning, and then other countries like Brazil. It does add a little bit, but then it also, you use that as a positive, that so many people are being inspired by your work and what you're bringing to it. So that's kind of what I did. But yeah, it was intimidating at first, but it kind of excited me, because I feel like as humans, we're on a journey of growth. We should seek that, and that's kind of what I'm learning through Matthew.
True. When did you start watching it? There's so much to watch. So
Yeah,
I wouldn't believe that you were watching just this.
Yeah.
When did you start watching it?
Yeah, it's interesting. A lot of actors don't watch their work at all.
Yep.
And there's plenty of actors on our show who've never seen a single minute of The Chosen, believe it or not. I'm not going to out them and say who it is, but it's not us.
Right.
But no, I became a fan of the show, and I'm one of those people who can watch my work. So I was in it right away, season 1, episode 2. So I've been in it since the beginning, pretty much. So and I watch it. I'm one of those people I can watch it and it's not going to pull me out, and
Okay.
I won't be like so hypercritical, but I can learn and say, oh, I could have done this differently, and maybe I modulate here and there.
It's
So
important to watch your own work. You know,
For some
'cause
people.
it
Some
helps
people
you as
can't
an
handle
actor.
it.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, and
I
and-
was like that, but then I got to a point of like, I'll be a better actor if I do watch.
Well, you're so good in it. You're such a technician, and you were mentioning earlier too about how, the responsibility of it, and kind of, and you just focus on the work. And I think that's the key, right? Is if you're acting through the lens of how you're perceived by others and how others may perceive you, it can pull you away from just the material.
Right.
And I think sometimes you just go back to the basics of, what is the script saying? What is my job? How am I behaving? What do I need to do? Where do I need to stand? How do I need to physically behave and relate? And how can I maybe personalize it? And everyone has a different technique. But I think when you start thinking about, seeing things through the lens of the audience, it can pull you out. So I think it's important to just focus on the material. In this case, we're very lucky because the material is rich.
Yeah.
It's very clear. There isn't too much. There's obviously plenty of room to add our own sort of life to it. But in terms of interpreting what the intention of the writer is,
Right.
I think it's clear, kind of. And we have such a great showrunner, director with Dallas Jenkins,
Yes.
that he's very approachable. So if there's any question you have about anything, like, you feel comfortable. There's a
Okay.
safety net on set. The egos are not so large, at all, that you don't feel comfortable. Kind of there's this energy on set where we're involved in something larger
That's
than
amazing,
just our
yeah.
own personal individuality.
Right.
So that's really comforting.
That's nice.
And unique also,
Yeah. Right. This show has such a massive following world over in different parts and pockets. Still, you meet people who will be watching it for the first time, who will be hearing about it for the first time. Through this interview, they may still discover it.
Yeah.
I've not met the makers. What do they tell you? What is the purpose of it? Is it just to create awareness? Is it just to tell a story? What is the reason behind it?
I will speak about how I feel
Sure.
it, because I truly feel it's just to create awareness, but it's also just, if it inspires you, just be inspired by it. If it does a further calling for you, then by all means lean into that. But I think what's so magical about this show is that our show has had over 800 million views globally, and people are finding something from it, and I find that really inspiring because people are growing, and they're seeing something in it that's uplifting and motivating them. And so I don't think there's any agenda, especially with respect to my character's journey. I find myself really loving the storylines because it's told from a place of humanity.
Right.
And I think people can relate to that and see themselves in it. And that's why you have so many people watching the show.
Sure. Is it enough entertainment for everyone, or is it just meant for a community to watch?
That's a great question. I think there's something. I think with all great philosophies that have stood the test of time, whether they're religions or philosophical models, or there's something in it for everyone. And similarly in this show, I think there's like we say masala. There's lots of different elements for it. So I would say the filmmaking is on a level where, independent of what your belief system is or lack of belief system is, there is something in there, and but there is an underlying theme of selflessness, of sort of living maybe a virtuous life, and those things are universal, I think, and I think there's something in it for everyone on that level, I more so than it being about one specific belief. I think it's about this one revolutionary figure,
Right.
who was somewhat radical in his time, and through the lens of people around him, and how that how he inspired them and how they live their lives. So it's interesting how the fan base has grown to be a lot more than just who you would think would be into this show, because the filmmaking itself has a certain production value, has a certain quality of writing and casting and art direction, cinematography, costume design. All those things are entertaining but also inspiring, I think. So and as growing up in a different environment, maybe I had less baggage, going in. So I'm able to really just enjoy it and appreciate it and feel inspired.
Nice.
There's moments on set where you're just so moved and I think that comes through. There's a certain energy. There's a certain safety net of just. Whether it's divinity or whether it's just an intangible element of love that's there, so people feel it. So yeah, I believe that there's something in it for everyone. Yeah.
Nice. That's great. When you go into a show like that, are you hoping as an actor that it will have seasons and your character will continue? Are you hoping that? And is that the plan?
Yeah, a lot of more traditional shows always wait for a pickup at the end of the season to see. It all depends on numbers, but with our show, it was already decided it's going to be told over 7 seasons.
Okay.
So there was a good relief of job security
That's
there,
so,
so that did relieve a lot of pressure, but along the way, it's just. It allows me to focus on the present, enjoying the memory. So the memories I have is launching the show in India, going to Brazil, interacting with all our supporters and seeing how the show is inspiring them and impacting them. So it's just it's just a sense of job security at the end of the day.
Yeah, you think so too? Yeah.
Oh, I mean, anytime you can work, it's great. It's wonderful to work on something that checks all the boxes in terms of the material is great, the people are great, money, all those things, but ultimately, we're in the service industry, and and it's a luxurious problem to have, to be able to decide, does this align with my beliefs, or is this something that I want to be involved in long term or not? Oftentimes as actors, we're just wanting to work, but this show is such a blessing because it's provided. More than just work, it's provided a sense of community, a sense of purpose for a lot of people.
Right. Do you see a big change in South Asian actors getting more work? Do you think that's become better since when or something?
Yeah, I mean, it's great to see that happening because then it gives you hope too of but I see that there's definitely a demand. There's so many stories to be told, especially within our communities, and that's what's exciting. And being on The Chosen, I'm using it as an opportunity to introduce our base, a little bit of Paras and myself, and a lot of people don't even know about my heritage, but I'm using it as a moment to kind of encourage them and open them up and see the world, because sometimes the world is smaller than we think think that it is, and it's a good moment to kind of educate others and create that demand too, to be like, I want to see more South Asians out there, and a lot of people are killing it and paving the way, and so that's my hope, is to continue to do that.
Right. Do you see anyone from the community, from the South Asian community, pushing the door open for others?
Oh yeah, I mean, you see it not just in entertainment, but I think you're seeing it in every industry, right?
Okay, yeah.
You're seeing South Asians in all walks of life, from police officers, even, which you never saw maybe 20, 30 years ago. You walk around New York, you'll see an Indian cop, which, you'll do a double take for a second, but that's reality now. Yeah. And, obviously politicians and, CEOs of companies, and not just doctors and, gas station clerks and, cab drivers, which is what mainly it was earlier part in my career, maybe 20 years ago. You're seeing South Asians, we're not a monolith, and people are, I think, seeing that in the world. So now you're seeing it reflected through media and through the arts. And then we also have, passionate, multi-hyphenate writer, director, South Asians and creators now. So now we're getting behind the camera, we're getting into powers of position within studios and things like that. So I'm really pleased and excited and grateful to be South Asian, to be Indian right now, to be an Indian American right now, where I think people are, there's casting that's colorblind, where they're not seeing you as anything but just a human, but then they're also embracing who you are, and it's a unique time. And I think it's up to you as an individual sometimes to decide whether to take a role or not take a role, based on these variables. When I started off early in my career, a lot of parts were written very stereotypically, and a lot of people are like, "Oh no, I don't want to do that. I don't want to audition for that." But my philosophy was always, get the part, and then you're more in a position of power to maybe change that perception. Then maybe you can go to the director and say, "Oh, maybe his name should be pronounced this way, or maybe he should do that." So rather than just, so some of it is proactive. You have to also be proactive about it. But it's an exciting time.
It is.
You have so many people in our industry. Dev Patel just did a movie where he, and Mindy Kaling is there, and and there's so many people. We're just talking about Geeta Patel doing Game of Thrones, and there's so many creators on both sides of the camera now that people are just seeing them as people,
Right.
as people who can manage this.
Yeah.
This craft and this life. So very exciting time.
Great, amazing, very proud. And from where I see, you guys are the chosen one for this one.
Oh, thank
So we
you.
feel
man.
very, very proud. Thank you so much.
Thank you so
It's a
much. Thank
pleasure.
you. Appreciate it.